Acosta to swallow. Tough times for Pedro Acosta, who's going to leave Bruno pointless. Chance for him to really stick his nose in that championship fight with Marco Bezzecchi point scoring finishes this weekend.
Has been cut in half.
Has been cut in half. You know what, Ayagura mightn't have needed this to be a 22-lap race. He closes in. Look at this from Bagnaia. The Gian Antonio, well, there could be two late plot twists here in Brno. Is Agura going to get Marc Marquez for the win? Is Digi going to get Bagnaia for the final place on the podium?
Happened to Bagnaia at Mugello last year, didn't it? When he lost the third place in the final meters to his fellow Italian. You can see the nerves from Julian Marquez, who I think wants to watch his son. His son is 3 corners away. From back-to-back MotoGP wins.
This one's over. This one is over. Ayagura has tried to go toe-to-toe with Marc Marquez, which is arguably Marquez. Well, he ignited his title defence with the double win in Balaton Park in Hungary a couple of weeks ago. And that hunger, that desire to be the best, to keep himself as the reference rider in the MotoGP World Championship, well, that just will never go away, will it? Pecco Bagnaia, a little bit like he did in front of his home crowd in Mugello a few weeks ago, did a lot of the front running before he has to settle for third place. On that occasion, he just about fended off the late charge from Mayora. Today, he had to fend off the charge late on of Fabio Di Gianantonio, who's going to be left to rue what was not a poor start, but just never got going in those first 2 or 3 laps when he was beaten up and pushed back to, what, back 6th or 7th place. Agura close, but it is still Makoto Tamada that will remain, for the time being at least, as the most recent Japanese winner in the MotoGP World Championship. But no doubt about it, make no mistake, that was the best weekend that Agura's had in MotoGP. Pole position, second in the sprint, second in the Grand Prix. His time will come.
It was the pace in those first 2, 3, 4 laps, wasn't it? Ultimately, that was all that was missing for Agura today. Looks pretty happy enough, and why shouldn't he be with second place? Because it was clear that once he got up to speed after about 3 or 4 laps behind the factory Ducatis, he was as fast of them at the very least, if not slightly faster this afternoon, but he could not find a way through. And in the end, through sheer force of will, Marc Marquez made it happen.
He gets knocked down, but he keeps getting back up again and again and again and again, doesn't he? The reigning world champion. The mental toughness, the commitment, the sacrifice to never accept that your better days are behind you. Arguably, maybe, his best days are still to come, which is trouble for the competition. So much for Agura to be proud of here this weekend. His first pole, first time he's ever led in MotoGP as well. He was the early front runner in that Grand Prix. But Marc Marquez has done it again. 75 MotoGP victories for the factory Ducati rider. And there's been a huge shift in momentum, you feel, over the course of these last 2 Grand Prix. Marco Bezzecchi, 7 points in Hungary and in Brno. Marc Marquez, 37 in Balaton, 32 here this weekend, 69 points. That is a huge reversal.
Might sound slightly over the top, but Aston already has a bit of a feel of must-win about it for Aprilia, just to stop the rot of what's gone on recently. You can see how much this means to the fans of Marc Marquez. It will mean every bit as much to Marc Marquez, because of course after Aston next weekend we have the Saxon Ring to follow heading into the summer break, where we know Marc Marquez is nigh on unstoppable. So Aprilia need to stop the rot, they need to stop it quickly.
And KTM need to stop that KTM for Pedro Acosta stopping, because once again, I mean, your heart goes out to Pedro Acosta. Let's have a listen and see what we can find out what happened to him. Yeah, he sent something wrong. Straight away you can see him grab the clutch on the left-hand side there. I mean, not for the first time this season we have seen the KTM cut out and instigate some pretty serious drama.
Well, it's twice in 2 days, isn't it, that Acosta has essentially been ruled out through no fault of his own.
KTM have got to sort this out. They have got to sort this out. I mean, there has been way too many issues, technical troubles for the Mattinghofen brand. No troubles whatsoever, though, for Marc Marquez. He made the key move. Lap 16 was when he hit the front. A beautiful pass on Bagnaia going through turn 4. Would it have maybe been a slightly different tale, a different story had Agura got through on Pecco Bagnaia a little bit quicker? All ifs, buts, whats and maybes. What is not in any doubt, what is not up for any kind of argument, is Marc Marquez is in with a great shout of retaining this MotoGP world title. It's been a bleak weekend for Aprilia and a bleak weekend for Marco Bezzecchi, but a fairy tale weekend in many respects for Marc Marquez. Happy to finish within 10 seconds of the win.
Well, in the end, he won it all together. Shout out to this man, arguably the rider of the day. I don't think he's won the rider of the race, but he would be mine. Juan Mir got the soft rear tyre home in 5th place in the end. His best ride for quite some time and his best result of the season. Yeah, that's an absolutely superb performance, that by Juan Mir, who does have his critics with his tendency to fall off that RC213V far too often. But yeah, great job, respect and credit where credit is due. Top 6 finishes for Honda have been few and far between. I make that only his 5th top 6 in 65 appearances for HRC. Really, really good ride that by Mir. Chapeau. Pecco Bagnaia, well, once again, did all the early chasing, did all the early running. Then he was just absolutely powerless, wasn't he? Initially to stop Marc Marquez, and then to stop Ayagura coming through again. Alex Marquez there. A thumbs up to his older brother. Nobody knows more the skills of Marc Marquez out on a racetrack. Pecco Bagnaia, that's been a superb weekend for the Italian, winning the sprint, 3rd in the Grand Prix. He's with Jack.
Pecco, what a weekend. Sprint victory yesterday and back it up with a podium here in an incredible race. The pace from all 3 of you guys at the front was electric. Clinging on at the front, did you always fear that Marc and I were going to build some momentum at the end of the race?
Yeah, but I was quite comfortable when I was leading. But I was thinking that the pace wasn't enough because I was missing 2-3 tenths compared for 2. I tried everything and we improved the vibration compared to yesterday, but I started having more floating. So maybe I prefer vibration than floating. But in any case, as soon Marc and Dio overtook me, I was struggling a lot to follow them for the front pressure. I needed to slow down a bit, and then the last 3 laps I tried to be back on my pace to try to control a bit the Dija that I was arriving very fast. But in any case, happy. Another step in front done, and we just need to continue like this.
Top job today, well done.
Grazie.
Yeah, a great weekend when all's said and done for Pecco Bagnaia. That is his 63rd MotoGP podium, which does now move him into the outright all-time top 10. He was tied on 62 with former Ducati star Andrea Dovizioso. So some accolade that for Pecco Bagnaia. A good salvage job for Jorge Martin. What might have his Brno Grand Prix looked like without those 2 long laps today? He eventually finished 21 seconds behind Marc Marquez, but perhaps more importantly for Martin on a weekend where he's not felt really at home on that RSGP. Been lacking front feeling, front confidence, and he's had a lot of crashes so far this year, but without any question, the star of Pretty Rider of this weekend over Trackhouse's Ayagura, 2nd the sprint, 2nd the Grand Prix from pole position. Let's get his thoughts for Jack.
Another incredible ride, pole position, 2nd yesterday, 2nd today again, a career best MotoGP finish, and you gave absolutely everything in those final 5 laps. Just sum up what's been a brilliant weekend for you and the team.
First of all, I'm happy for my guys, and well, it was a really tough one. I think I got a good pace towards the end, but he had something more, so we keep trying. But overall, I mean, the quality of the weekend was a lot better than the other races, so we can be happy about the start and time to celebrate.
Absolutely, great job this weekend.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, and enjoy those celebrations, Ayagura. Enjoy those celebrations, Trackhouse, Aprilia. Another brilliant performance, wasn't it, by Ayagura? This was a really aggressive move he made late on to get through on Pecco Bagnaia into the Schwantz corner. Just run out of time. Unfortunately, he was good, but on the day, somebody was slightly better, and that somebody is one of the best to ever do it in MotoGP. What a ride once again. Cracking weekend though for Agura. Poles and 2 second places as Francesco Guidotti, incoming new team manager at Trackhouse, takes the congratulations of Aprilia Racing CEO Massimo Rivola. Rievele's had to do some defending in public, hasn't he, after a dramatic couple of weeks for the factory Aprilia team. But he does go back to back in Brno, and it's game on for his World Championship defence. Your race winner here in Czechia, it's the one, the only, Marc Marquez.
Mark, in the blink of an eye, it goes from 102 points down to just 40. You were forced to produce your absolute best today by both Pecco and I. How significant a victory does this feel?
I mean, super important. Victory in the right corner, in the right circuit corners is something special I was looking for, and yeah, you know that I never give up. In the last laps I was suffering a lot. The bike was there, but I was empty. And then just I tried to keep the pace, and I saw that Ogura was pushing, but not enough to catch me. So yeah, we're the longest 6 laps of the year. No, I will not say of my career, but of the year, and yeah, definitely across the line by first position. Super happy.
An incredible performance. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, he told Jack yesterday in a post-sprint interview that the Ducati is a motorcycle that's more than capable of winning the World Championship this year. They've got a rider to add to that package as well, haven't they? You just feel that the bike so far this season has been that couple of steps ahead of Marc Marquez. Certainly that right shoulder surgery that followed immediately after the French Grand Prix exit in the sprint. But a patched up Marc Marquez is still so hard, so tough to beat, as he crosses the line, victorious for the 5th time in Brno in the MotoGP World Championship. He's good on anti-clockwise tracks, as he proved in Balaton. He ain't half bad on clockwise circuits as well, is he, the reigning world champion?
Yeah, whatever you put in front of him, whether it's left, whether it's right, whether it's straight ahead, Marc Marquez does not take a single backward step. What a world championship we have now, all of a sudden, when we thought it might be an Aprilia Cup at the top of the world championship. We now have Bezzecchi 8 points ahead of Jorge Martin. Fabio Di Gianantonio is now just 23 points off the world championship lead in 3rd. Marc Marquez 40 off the lead in 4th. He's only 6 ahead of Ayagura, who in turn is 2 ahead of Acosta and 5 ahead of Bagnaia. We now have 53 points covering the top 7 riders in the world championship after 9 rounds of the season.
Ci speravo, eh? Ho detto oggi sì. Poi ha iniziato a farmi floating.
Ho visto.
E ho dovuto lasciare. Poi
Sì.
appena mi avete superato ho detto
Wow.
devo lasciarli andare, se no cado.
Dietro era impossibile. Io dietro te andava lontano.
Sì, ma sapevo che voi avevate 2-3 decimi in più.
In inglese, caro. Easy.
And I didn't start well as yesterday. But forse maybe exaggerated a bit in corner 7. First lap.
Allora, siete... No, ma era giusto. Era giusto. No, hai fatto un sorpasso bello lì. You were stalling in the beginning?
Yeah.
I saw you that were stalling there. We need to go because you will come in the end.
Which lap time you were doing in the last laps? 53 low.
3, 4, no? More or less. Cosa è successo qui?
Fammi pressure.
Pressione?
E qua non acceleravo più.
Were you managing something behind Pecco? Open
But
a gap,
yes.
open a gap again.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to overtake you, so like I was just give up, come back, give up, come back.
Then final laps, Dija was arriving incredibly fast.
Boh. Non è male, dai.
Dici, eh?
Che soffrimento, Dio.
È lunga, è lunga.
You suffer? Physical or no? You look relaxed, eh?
I'm quite
No,
okay.
no? You're okay, eh?
I think it's too long. We need 15 laps races.
He looks fresh. 25 years old.
25 years old. You can still go to Ibiza and then race Sunday.
Bene, ciao.
Looking as fresh as a daisy, Ayagura looks like he could do another 21 laps. I'm not sure we can say the same about Pecco Bagnaia and Marc Marquez. Double podium though for the factory Ducati team. They are split by Ayagura. His best ever MotoGP finish. First time he's ever led in the Premier class as well. Showing his pure class in that Grand Prix, didn't he? As former 250cc world champion Manuel Poggioli about to join the podium celebrations. His first back-to-back wins since Austria and Hungary. About 11 months ago now for Marc Marquez. He's tired, he's exhausted, but he won't care because there's 32 more vital World Championship points collected here in Czechia.
There are 21 other MotoGP riders who are tired of him at the moment. Formula One incorrectly, inadvertently described him as a former MotoGP rider last weekend. How so many MotoGP riders at the moment wish that were the case, because he is so hard to beat. Well, barely broke sweat, did he, Ayagura, as Marc Marquez pointed out. Look, he looks fresh as a daisy, as Pecco Bagnaia was reflecting on the physical toll that Grand Prix took on him today. But Marc Marquez, what can you do to beat him? When he's at his best, you don't, quite simply, because he is one of, if not the very best to ever do it on two wheels. Nonchalant as Ayagura looks, stood there with arms crossed on the podium. Congratulations to Ducati, who have now won 4 of the last 6 Grand Prix. What crisis, they will be saying. They have struck back big time since the embarrassment, I guess they would have seen it, of being beaten at home by Aprilia at Mugello. Third place for Pecco Bagnaia. He's getting used to those. 4 of them on the bounce now. Barcelona, Mugello, Balaton and Brno. Pecco Bagnaia finishes P3. It's a pair of second places for Ayagura, as Tour de France legend Sir Mark Cavendish hands over his second Sunday podium of the season. But MotoGP 101, Marc Marquez is your winner. His 100th Grand Prix win. His second in as many Grand Prix. And from feeling as if he was almost out of MotoGP title contention, he may now be the favourite again, as Marc Marquez goes back-to-back in Balaton and now in Brno.
Is firmly in the hunt for his 8th MotoGP world title. 2 wins in the space of 2 Sunday Grand Prix. As Aprilia score spectacular own goals left, right and centre. Hitting the target once again and hitting the top step of the podium is 33-year-old Spaniard, the factory Ducati superstar Marc Marquez, as Ducati celebrate their double podium. Aprilia's star performer, without any question this weekend, was the rising star from the land of the rising. Sort of great weekend for Ayagura. So much for him to look back on with an enormous sense of pride. Pole position, first Japanese rider to do so in 6 years. Led the Grand Prix very early on. First taste that eyes had of the world's best riders behind his rear wheel. Pecco Bagnaia then took over at the front. but in extremely hot conditions. It was a pace from Marc Marquez late on that was just too hot to handle. Once again, just too strong, too good, too fast. Well, we're going to pack our bags very, very quickly and make the short trip to one of our most iconic and historic Grand Prix venues. It's the end of June, which can mean only one thing. We are heading to legendary TT Circuit Assen, the Grand Prix of the Netherlands, coming up next weekend as we hurtle towards the summer break. Marc Marquez hurtling towards top spot in the World Championship. So not much time to celebrate, not too much time to relax as we go arguably to the most famous MotoGP venue of them all. Join us next weekend, I'm sure you will do, for the TISO Grand Prix of the Netherlands, TT Circuit Assen, our next destination.
Grand Prix victory number 101 for Marc Marquez. And one of his sweetest, surely, as he denies Ayagura. Pecco Bagnaia, the long-time leader, third. Fabio Gian Antonio set the fastest lap on the last lap, trying to catch Bagnaia, but had to settle for fourth. Joan Mir, a superb fifth, ahead of Fermin Aldeguer. All these promoted by a last-lap breakdown for Pedro Acosta. Aldeguer, Fernandez, Marini, Martin, ninth after his double long-lap penalty. Top 10 completed by Enea Bastianini. Moreira faded to 11th, ahead of Binder, Morbidelli. Points for Razgatlioglu, and a solitary point on his 200th start for Maverick Vinales. Alex Rins pulled into the pits. Fabio Quartararo crashed early on. They joined Pedro Acosta as retirement. Marco Bezzecchi then, who will return to action at Assen on Friday for free practice, will do so with just an 8-point lead now over his teammate Jorge Martin, but perhaps more significantly, 40 points his advantage over the reigning champion Marc Marquez. Just 53 covers the top 7. How close it is now in the Constructors' Championship after 4 wins out of the last 6. Ducati now just 5 points behind Aprilia. Team standings, Aprilia's lead is also being slashed in that particular championship after Ducati Lenovo scored 41 points today to cut Aprilia Racing's lead down to 85. Let's bring you some highlights then. Of course, a MotoGP race that took place without the championship leader Marco Bezzecchi, banned after the altercation with a marshal yesterday. And it felt as if Ayagura had done a lot of the hard work when he converted pole into the lead at turn 1. Marc Marquez, though, attacking early as he seized third place from Pecco Bagnaia. That became second, as both Bagnaia and Marc Marquez moved through on Ayagura. Bagnaia taking the lead on lap 2. Ayagura down to third as Marc Marquez saw his opportunity to snatch second place. Tense battle unfolded then between the top 3. Jorge Martin, of course, from the third row of the grid and 2 long lap penalties. Expertly serving the 2 long lap penalties. Once he'd served them both, he was down in 13th place. He would ultimately recover up to 9th. Ayagura continuing to loom behind the factory Ducati riders. Pedro Acosta had his own issues as he had to move over and let Fabio Di Gianantonio through. Knowing that Ayagura would become a serious pest in the latter stages, Marc Marquez had to strike and snatch the lead from teammate Bagnaia. Bagnaia at that point would fade as Ayagura didn't wait long before he snatched second place. Try as he might, he could not quite chase down the reigning champion. Acosta's difficult day ended on the final lap as his KTM gave up the ghost. But there is absolutely no giving up for Marc Marquez as he takes back-to-back MotoGP victories. 2 in a row for the reigning champion. Is he potentially the favourite again for title glory? The 93 wins in Brno. He's now just 45 points off the World Championship, 40 points off the World Championship lead. And Marco Bezzecchi needs a response when he returns from suspension at the Dutch TT next weekend.
What a sprint Saturday has been here in Balaton for the reigning world champion. Pole position to the sprint victory. What a return to action.
Marc Marquez, he has completely dominated this sprint.
Welcome to the Grand Prix of Hungary. Welcome to the Balaton Park circuit. Marc Marquez taking his 76th MotoGP pole position.
The rider on pole position is the rider to beat.
So here we go then. It's lights out and racing in MotoGP here in the Grand Prix of Hungary. Big wheel spin there for Marc Marquez as he got off the line. Is he going to try and toughen out the brakes with Pedro Acosta on the run into the first corner? Sideways goes Acosta and Jorge Martin out of shape, out of control. Aldeguer has been cleaned out. The top three in the World Championship are out of this Grand Prix.
Bezzecchi, Aldeguer, Di Gianantonio and Fernandez out.
At the front then, Marc Marquez has a quarter of a second lead over Pedro Acosta.
Bagnaia has just cruised through all the chaos up into third place. Marini sails wide, so he's given up fourth now to Jack Miller.
Acosta's lunging on the inside of Marc Marquez. Pedro Acosta then leads here in Balaton for the third time.
Costas getting plenty of grip out of that soft rear tyre. Is Marc Marquez banking on that medium rear being the better long-term pick?
Clearly, the incident that turn one is under investigation. Marco Bezzecchi then. That's going to be super frustrating for Bez. The fifth. Oh, look at that. Mir was almost down. No surprise there. We said that Anea's going to likely cop a long lap penalty.
Now Agura is going on the attack. He's now at the inside of Juan Mir.
Marc Marquez is starting to pound some serious pressure on Acosta here. He's all over the rear tyre of Acosta. Into 9 and 10, the chicane we go. Marc Marquez leads. Sideways there, wasn't he? Sideways on the brakes was Marc Marquez. Left the door open. Acosta barges his way through. Here comes Marquez then now attacking on the brakes once again. Chest on the brakes. Oh, it's a block pass from Marquez. They're squeezing each other. Are they rubbing shoulders with each other? Big contact, wasn't there? This is the battle we have been waiting for. But Acosta versus Marquez is on. Is this going to be another time he's going to attack? It is. So this is successive laps. Then went to 93. Has sent it on the inside of Acosta. He'll just run Acosta out to the paintwork. That was crucial. He got his tactics spot on there, did he? Number 93, Marc Marquez. He is back at the front, and now already he has got daylight between himself and Acosta. This battle continues to rage between Marini and Agura.
Marini once again held the inside of the racetrack, but then of course goes across the race line. Agura lets the brakes off, desperately trying to get to the apex first, and this time he's able to park it in front of Luca Marini.
The reigning world champion with just one corner left. Marc Marquez has had a blast at Balaton Park once again. He wins in Hungary to make it 100 wins for one very special rider, one very special talent. Pedro Acosta takes second place. Pekka Bagnaia is on the podium for the third race in succession. The factory Ducati team reach a century of wins. This World Championship defence is now well and truly up and running. We are at majestic Mugello once again. For Raul Fernandez, who wins the TSO sprint here in Mugello. It's his first gold medal after a golden performance by the Trackhouse Aprilia rider. Good afternoon and welcome one and all to the Brembo Grand Prix of Italy. Fernandez goes really wide. trying to pick up some slipstream. He's going to be close enough to attack Bez on the brakes into Sandinato. He's got the inside line. Is he going to get it stopped? Because there was a big hay shake there from Martin. He's going to run in hot. He's going to run in wide. Got to be careful here.
Marquez is fourth, so it's now Rezeki and Bagnaia, an Italian 1-2 at the Italian Grand Prix.
Here comes Bagnaia then through Biondetti 1 and 2. Is he going to be close enough to maybe show his wheel to Rezeki on the brakes into the final corner? Can he pick up some slipstream on that factory Ducati?
Bagnaia about to lead the Italian Grand Prix as he goes to the left of Marco Rezeki, and Bagnaia does hit the front once again at Mugello.
Marc Marquez runs in a little bit hot. Acosta's the fastest rider on circuit. Marc then back up into P4, but Pecco Bagnaia then leads here in front of his home crowd. Just with a bit of a block pass there, eased on the inside of Marc Marquez. Is this finally Acosta potentially securing fourth place? As Rezeki really does close up on the rear tyre of Bagnaia. Here comes Rezeki just building and building momentum. He's going to go to the inside line here. They go side by side. Bez versus Bagnaia. This is the moment then with 10 to go where Marco Rezeki has decided this is his moment. So Marco Rezeki then back at the front here in Mugello. Martin's going to gobble up Bagnaia very, very quickly. Surely this is going to be a fairy tale 1-2 here. Fair play to Bagnaia. He's really trying to tough it out on the brakes.
Marc's bigger problem here isn't Acosta, it's Ayagura on the track house pretty, who is still doing 146s. Here comes Agura.
Yeah, that's lovely. On the inside of Marc, just squeezing him out to the paintwork.
Ayagura, remember, has come from 13th place on the grid.
And Aprilia absolutely powering past Pedro Acosta's KTM. They both go sideways. They're both snaking left and right, trying to squeeze every bit of braking performance. Well, Agura just closing the door there on Acosta.
Bagnaia, within sight of the checkered flag, might lose his grip on the podium again.
But here comes Ayagura. What a battle for the final place on the podium. Bagnaia sweeps through the inside line. But Marco Rezeki is proof that dreams do come true. He takes a fairy tale home success here in Mugello. Huge credit to Pecco Bagnaia. That has to be the best day of Marco Rezeki's life. Aprilia's first win at this circuit. A 1-2 for the factory Aprilia team. Simply the best, simply the best day of his career. Dreams do come true. A lifelong dream as a schoolboy. He would have watched his Italian heroes for so many years win here in Mugello. Grazie Mugello, grazie Italia. Brilliant job that by Alex.
Alex Marquez held up, he stood up to the pressure, and he does take his first sprint win of the season.
We are at another classic and iconic Spanish Grand Prix venue for round 6 in 2026. It's Pedro ready to power away from pole position here. What can Alex Marquez do? And we've got problems here. Is that Brad Binder? It's the number 33 who's rolled off the line. It's lights out, and we're racing in MotoGP here in Catalonia. It's a great start from pole position once again by Pedro Acosta. And here's Martin, another dynamic start from Martin.
And Martin, he's now attacking Alex Marquez. Oh, it's good contact between the two Spaniards. Oh!
Well, Zarco, if he'd lost it there, he cleaned Jorge out.
Now contact between Zarco and Frankie Morbidelli. Zarco's on the inside and he sends Alex Marquez out to the car park.
There's Acosta that leads. What a time to ride on board with Alex.
Martin's busy attacking rather than defending. He takes Zarco then for that third place.
As Alex goes through on Joe and Zarco. We're coming from a long, long way back. Here's Raul Fernandez. Trackhouse Aprilia lead once again.
After the flag from the Czech Grand Prix at Brno, and for Aprilia, red alert in the MotoGP World Championship, because for the second Grand Prix in a row, defending champion Marc Marquez is your winner. After telling us at the start of the weekend he wasn't sure or he'd be happy if he finished within 10 seconds of the winner, he is the winner. Of course, as I'm sure you're all aware if you're watching us live or catching up, a Grand Prix that took place without Marco Bezzecchi, and perhaps Jack Appleyard, who joins myself, this will be the result that he feared, as Marc Marquez took victory from 102 points back when he returned and finished 7th at Mugello, and many were, I think, perhaps reasonably writing him out of the World Championship story, potentially now the favourite again. We will get Jack's reaction in just a moment, but first let's get the immediate thoughts live now from Marc Marquez, who's speaking to Matt Burt.
Well, Marc Marquez, he went back-to-back in Balaton, and now he has gone back-to-back here in Brno. Mark, we saw how hard you had to work for that latest victory. You said on Thursday you'd be happy if you finished within 10 seconds of the win compared to Mugello. You won the Grand Prix by half a second, so you must be super, super happy. A double podium here in Brno. Congratulations.
This one was unexpected, total unexpected. I mean, today target, very optimistic target was a podium, but I knew that on the papers I was 4th on the race pace, together with Pecco, very close, but looks like Dija and Ogura were faster than us, but we pushed from the beginning, we attacked well on the first lap, and then especially when I was behind Pecco, I saw that my pace was good, but I was stuck behind him. I wasn't able to overtake, and then when I did it, I was able to be even faster. I used to match the rear tire in the beginning to overtake Pecco, but even like this, I was able to be fast.
You made the move on Pecco on lap 16. Did you feel like you had to go then? Because I'm sure you saw on your pit board plus 0.2, 0.3, number 79, and we know how good I is in the last laps.
Yeah, I saw even in some big screen, I saw that sometimes even Ogura was trying to overtake me, so I say, we must go, because if you are behind two riders, it's even worse for the front tire. I take a lot of risks to overtake Pecco on that turn 1, turn 3 to try to attack on turn 4, but it was the only way. So when we did it, just I defend one lap and then I start to attack, and that was enough to open that small gap. I was afraid about Ogura because we know how strong he is in the last laps. But for that reason, even in the last chicane, I was pushing because zero confidence with Ogura behind.
Just talk us through that moment in turn 13. I mean, you had half a second at that point, but I guess you could hear him, and you were all in, as you always are.
Yeah, but because I did a small mistake in the exit of turn 12, and then I say, I don't know where it is, and then I say, okay, it doesn't matter how we attack. I go in. a bit fast, but then especially I opened a lot of gas because I saw in Moto2 how they overtaking the last chicane, and then I said, okay, this cannot happen to me, and then just I open more gas and I lose that rear, but yeah, enough to cross the line in the first position.
Mark, in 2 races, you've recovered over 60 points to Marco Bezzecchi, who had a really difficult weekend there in Brno. From 102 points before Hungary, the gap down now to just 40 points in the championship. You're in the game. You're a title contender, aren't you now? You must have to admit that.
Yes, I mean, I cannot say that. I was over. I was completely over in Mugello, and especially before Mugello that I was in the hospital. In that moment I jump, when you lose 2 races, I lose Le Mans, Catalunya, Mugello, I was there on the bike, but I was over, but I don't know why. Now I'm behind the top guy, just 40 points. I need to keep calm. I need to survive in Assen especially, because it's a racetrack that even when I'm fit, I'm struggling. So there I need to be calm and try to understand if in Sachsenring and after summer break we can change to attack mode.
You've done it again. More magic from Marquez in Brno. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank
well
you
done.
very much. Thank you.
So attack mode potentially still to come for Marc Marquez in the second half of the season. Of course, I was about to throw the question to you before we had Marc Marquez live, and of course that had to take precedent, but is he all of a sudden, in this shape of 2 weeks, gone from rank outsider to title favourite?
Yes, yeah, right now I think there's a general air of inevitability that when we get into the second half of the season, when we see Mark back to his very best, and he's going to be able to charge towards what will be, we said earlier on in the season, for me, his best MotoGP World Championship yet, given what he's had to overcome this year. But today in particular, I was trying to think of what words to use to describe it. The only one I can come up with is greatness. That was just absolute greatness. Marc Marquez digging deep. He's not a very good liar, but he is telling the truth there when he says he shouldn't have been fighting for the victory today. His pace all weekend hasn't been that of the level of Fabio Di Giannantonio, of Ayagura, of even his teammate Pecco Bagnaia. But what separated him today was A, talent, obviously, but B, mentality. To have dug as deep as he did, to have wrestled himself into a position where he was always going to manage to get past Pecco and then control that gap. It was, for me, without doubt, his best victory in the factory Ducati colours, and maybe one of his best victories since the injury comeback in 2020. It was pure brilliance from Marc Marquez today in the overall context of the championship. As you mentioned, Marco Bezzecchi not on the grid today. He knew that he could really strike a huge blow to an already deflated, depleted Aprilia box. And by going out and doing that today, he has sucked the life out of Marco Bezzecchi and Aprilia, because they will all be feeling that same sort of air of inevitability of, oh dear, it's happening again. And that's because it is. Honestly, I cannot sort of sing his praise enough. I was blown away by that performance today. It was absolute brilliance from Marquez.
Yeah, I said during the race he put his mind, body and soul into that.
We saw it afterwards, yeah.
Had to use his head, as he said there, speaking to Matt, that when he was trying to close in on Pecco Bagnaia and the front tyre was starting to go through the roof with its temperature and pressure, he had to wait, he had to back off and then attack again. His body was starting to give up on him in the final few laps. He was completely spent, as you saw there, after the race, and it was through sheer force of will that he ended up making that happen in the closing laps. And that is ultimately what separates the very good from the great. They win races they're not supposed to win.
Absolutely, and when his body isn't at 100% as well on a right-handed circuit, often you can tell Mark's emotions. He tries to hide them, and one of the keys I've noticed from being very lucky to be in that position where you're chatting to people after victories, and Mark I've done a lot of over the past couple of years since stepping into the job, is when Mark gets emotional, he sort of takes a step away, and then he wasn't able to finish his final sentence in Parc Fermé. He took a step away. There was genuine emotion there with Mark today, because he realised the significance, the importance of what he's gone out and done today.
Second place in the end, though, goes to Ayagura. A pair of second places for him after being beaten by Pecco Bagnaia yesterday. He's beaten by Marc Marquez today, but still the best weekend of his MotoGP career. Let's get I's thoughts now with that.
Well, it's been an incredible weekend here in Brno for Trackhouse Aprilia's Ayagura. Congratulations, what a weekend. Your first pole position in MotoGP, first sprint podium yesterday. Today was the first time you led in MotoGP, and on the podium in second place, your best result. So much for you to be proud of this weekend, a great weekend all round.
Yeah, it was a good surprise at the performance we got this weekend. I mean, the qualifying was very nice. In the sprint was good. I had a good pace, and in the main race, I think I had even more good pace towards the end of the race, especially. But Mark got a little bit more than me, and I finished second. But overall, like, I think me and my team is really happy about our weekend. We could improve one of our weak points, which is qualifying, and in the main race we did our job. I think for sure was a little bit, how should I say, lack of race strategy maybe, but in overall the performance was there, so super happy.
A lack of race strategy. So what would you do different if you had the chance to do that race again?
If I had another race now, I push a little more from the beginning to put the Pecco and Mark behind, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't manage to do it this time. So.
You did get the chance to lead though in those first 2 or 3 laps. How was that experience? How did it feel? And did you always kind of feel that Pecco and Mark were going to come and attack you?
Feel fantastic when you have no one in the front. Fresh air. I enjoy the fresh air, but they're a little better than me today. So we try again next time.
A little better, not much at all. I mean, if you're fighting with Marc Marquez, if you're half a second behind Mark on the last lap of a MotoGP race, you've done a fantastic job. What do you feel like was the small difference today?
I feel like if I had a bit more rear edge grip, I could have at least I could have a 1 or 2 try on Mark, but the rear at the end wasn't really performing well, so that was it.
As we say, a great weekend for you. Double podium, sprint win and Grand Prix win, your first pole position and the first time you led a Grand Prix. Very well done. Congratulations, I.
Yeah, many congratulations to Ayagura, and if the worst thing you can say about him is that he wasn't quite as good as the greatest rider potentially of all time, then you know he's done an awful lot right. Are we being uber critical if we look at this weekend as a potential win that slipped away from him, or was he just beaten by someone who was just at the very top of his game today?
No, I don't think so. I think Ayagura, the entirety of the Trackhouse team, will look at it as a hugely successful weekend. We've been saying all year long that the key to his future success in MotoGP, to future successes this year, are Saturday mornings. That first pole position, a huge confidence boost to him and all of the team to prove, okay, we can do it. I can find that extra little bit in qualifying trim to be able to get onto the front 2 rows of the grid. And yeah, he said, as most MotoGP rider will do, if I had my time again, I would make some small changes, but overall, I think Ayagura will get back home tonight and will reflect on what's been a hugely successful weekend, a career best MotoGP finish in second, and you feel as though if you can build on this, start to find some momentum, then a victory isn't going to be too far away. A top job by him, and Aprilia's saving grace in the end at a place where I have to be honest, I came into the weekend and I was absolutely certain that we were going to see an Aprilia win on Sunday. So many characteristics similar to Mugello, where they absolutely dominated the weekend. Should have been a podium lockout.
The heat as well.
Exactly, where they were so much stronger than everybody else at the start of the year in these conditions. But yeah, a weekend, I put it to Massimo Rivola earlier, and it's something that everybody's feeling. A golden opportunity Aprilia have had this year, and it feels as though in the past few weekends they are trying their best to throw it away. I think you mentioned in commentary, and you're absolutely right. Next weekend in Assen, a circuit that we know Marco Bezzecchi has got great form around. You do feel ahead of the summer break, ahead of going to the Sachsenring of all places, it's must win for Marco.
Not for the championship, it's not must win, but just to stop the rot.
Exactly.
It feels like a result that Aprilia need to pick up next weekend. Of course, Marco Bezzecchi will be back from his suspension. ultimately Marc Marquez beat Ayagura by half a second. So are we talking about a situation where the two bikes are actually now quite evenly matched? Because Marc Marquez said on the eve this weekend, I think he said to you on Friday, this bike is good enough to win the World Championship.
Yesterday, he looked directly at me and in his most forthright and direct manner said, this bike is ready to fight for the World Championship. Us riders, we need to do better, and he raised his game today. You have to give huge credit to Ducati and Gigi Dall'Igna, because from the start of the year to now, that bike has evolved, that bike has changed, and they have closed the gap to Aprilia. Aprilia at the start of the year, as we saw, given the dominance, they were the clear best motorcycle on the grid. Right now, it is pretty even between the pair of them, and fair play to Ducati for working as hard as they have to be able to find those technological advancements to be able to close the gap to Aprilia.
We'll hear from Pecco Bagnaia in the press conference, which is coming out live shortly. But very quickly, we have to touch on the factory Aprilia team before we go. Marco Bezzecchi didn't start the Grand Prix. I'm sure you've all caught up on why that was. Jorge Martin salvaged 9th place, 7 points for him. Given the double on that penalty, was that as good as it was ever going to get?
Yeah, he would have taken every point on offer today, and that's what he did. It was a smart ride, a championship ride. Keeps him in contention as well. It's not over for the Aprilia guys. This is a long championship. We've seen how much has changed in the space of just 2 weekends. MotoGP will throw up yet more surprises. That is a guarantee.
Well, the stage is set beautifully, isn't it, for next weekend? Can Aprilia stop this Ducati momentum next weekend at Assen? If you're watching us live, stick around. The press conference is next. If not, we'll be with you on Thursday to gear up for the Dutch TT at Assen. We'll be heading over to the Cathedral of Speed. Can Aprilia fight back? We'll see you there.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the post-race Sunday press conference here at the end of the Monster Energy Grand Prix of Czechia here at the Brno circuit. Congratulations to our top three, the Ducati Novo team rider, reigning world champion Marc Marquez. Marc winning for the second time in a row here in Brno, his 75th MotoGP victory. Second place, a fantastic weekend for Trackhouse Aprilia's Ayagura, first Japanese rider in MotoGP to start on pole position in 6 years, second in yesterday's sprint and second in today's Grand Prix. And a double Ducati Novo team podium completed by Pecco Bagnaia. Pecco third in the Grand Prix, 4 successive podiums for Pecco, his 63rd MotoGP podium, which now puts him outright in the top 10 ever in Grand Prix history. Congratulations, gentlemen, to all three of you. Marc, we will start the press conference with you. I get the feeling that this was a much more unexpected victory compared to your success in Balaton Park 2 weeks ago today. Marc, you did it the hard way, a real tough battle in very tough conditions. Are you surprised to be sat here in P1 once again in Brno?
Yeah, of course, it was completely unexpected, this one, especially because I think today the best target, or very optimistic target, was a podium, but victory was something that I didn't expect. But yeah, already in the first part of the race, I attacked in a good way the first lap, and then I saw that when I was behind Pecco, the pace was there. Just I was stuck a bit behind him. I was not able to overtake in the beginning, and then I was using a lot of the rear tire, and then I was a bit afraid because with that riding style, I know that I was using a lot of the rear tire because I wasn't able to brake as I want. But when I did my last attack, that was the last 5 laps, was enough to lead the race. But then Ogura was coming, so I was quite afraid about his pace in the last part of the race, because normally he's super strong.
You attacked Pecco to lead on lap 16, a lead which you held to the checker flag, but you can never relax, can you, when you're seeing +0 79 on the pit wall? We know, as you just mentioned, how strong I is in those final few laps. We saw how hard you were pushing to take that win because you had the big moment coming through at turn 13. Mark, just talk us through that. And did you think I was a little bit closer than perhaps he was?
Yeah, I mean, when I was pushing, I was able to keep that 53 lows, but I was there always. So in the last lap on that turn 11, 12, I did a small mistake, and then I didn't know, and I was not very comfortable with Ogura behind. Then I defend in a good way turn 13, but then I open a lot of gas to attack to turn 14 and defend the turn 14 because after Moto Race, I say, okay, we need to be, we need to have extra tension on that corner. And yeah, it was enough to cross the line in first position.
Always watching, always learning, Mark, despite the fact that you've won over 100 Grand Prix. Now, just finally, there's been a real big change in the championship picture over these last 2 weeks. You've recovered 62 points in 2 rounds compared to Marco Bezzecchi. We know he's had a very complicated weekend here in the Czech Republic. Before this weekend, we've got the feeling that you've not really been thinking too much about the World Championship, but now you must be starting to feel that you're in the game and got a great chance of winning that 8th world title.
I mean, 1 month and a half, I was completely over. I mean, I was in the hospital and more than 100 points behind. So, so now I don't know why I'm 40 points behind the leader. So we are on the game. I need to have the feet on the ground because in Assen I need to survive. It's a circuit where normally when I'm fit, I'm already struggling. So this year I need to have this extra tension there. And then Sachsenring, summer break, and then I hope and I believe after summer break come back with attack mode.
Congratulations once again, Mark. Back-to-back in Balaton, now back-to-back here in Brno as well. Well done. Congratulations once again. Well, come on then to second place. Japan's Ayagura, fantastic weekend for you here in Brno. Pole position yesterday with that all-time lap record. A strong second in the sprint, a very strong second in today's Grand Prix. The first time you've actually led in MotoGP came today as well. So a lot of positives for you to take next weekend into Assen.
Yeah, for sure. Overall, the race weekend was a fantastic for us. Qualifying was one of the most weak point for us, and we managed to do it better this time. And second in the both races, it's a good result still. So we can be super happy about the weekend. Yeah.
And how did it feel to lead for the first time in MotoGP? Never easy to get to the front, never easy as well when you've got 2 riders with 9 MotoGP World Championships right on your rear tyre. How was that experience?
I enjoyed first few laps, but just for a few laps because they passed me. So I feel like I could have more, but no, it's nice to experience that anyway.
Pecco knows how strong you are over the longer distances on worn tyres because you pushed him all the way to the line in the sprint yesterday. You pushed him all the way for the podium in the Grand Prix Mugello. And Mark's just told us how he was worried about you attacking him in those final few laps. So was there any point, in those last sort of 4 or 5 laps where you really thought you might have a chance to catch and overtake Mark?
I felt better and I could see the lap time. We are going very, very quick towards the end of the race, but Mark was on the same pace. He had a great pace, and I couldn't catch him. I was like, at one point I was like, let me win this one because you have so many already. But no, next time.
Yeah, he's only got 101 wins now in his Grand Prix career. As the Marc Marquez, I am sure your time will come very, very soon. A brilliant weekend for you and for Aprilia. Another great ride. Congratulations once again to Pecco Bagnaia. Pecco, it is your 4th consecutive podium. You've found some speed, you found some consistency in the last few races. You did a lot of the leading in that Grand Prix as well, so a bit like a lot of positives for you to take from this weekend, of course, off the back of your sprint win yesterday as well.
Yeah, maybe I need to ask to Mark the same to let me win one race. But in any case, no, I'm happy. We are improving. We are getting closer to the pace, and today we missed last 5 laps. I was knowing also this morning and looking to the laps of Mark and I also from Dija that during the weekend I was missing 1 or 2 tenths. But today I tried everything in the first laps to control the race, and until lap 16 I was quite confident. Then I was not having vibration like yesterday, but I started to have more floating feeling. And honestly, I was struggling a bit. But as soon as I was leading, it was better. And when Mark overtook me, I started to struggle a lot with the front, and I needed to leave them go away. And then when I was 1 second, 1.2 behind, I started to push again. Then the pace was good, but not good enough. Was good just enough to finish on the podium.
You said missing potentially on paper those 1 or 2 tenths per lap. Where do you feel that small difference was today?
Like I said on Thursday, I need to think a bit too much riding the bike, and when you are thinking, normally you are losing a bit. When you are riding in a natural way, everything comes more easy. But it's like I said, this year it's a part of the process. Last year I lost a lot of confidence, and I need to build the speed, and I think it's something that we are improving. We are getting closer, we are working well. Maybe today we didn't do the correct choice on the setup, but was good enough to understand another way to work. Mark was doing a fantastic job the weekend, so we are getting closer also because we are pushing a lot to looking at the data, and we are getting closer to the Aprilia that this weekend.